Well, hey there, it's Melissa. Welcome back to another episode of Test Don't Guess Tuesday. Today, I want to talk to you about somebody who sent me their GI map test. They had it done with another practitioner who didn't understand how to read it and didn't really understand what was going on for this client. I want to tell you a little bit about her. It was a female who was 46 years old. My glasses on. Here were her complaints. Number one, and the biggest complaint, was bloating after every meal. She had gained some weight that she was having a hard time losing, as well as was very concerned with inflammation. She was having some back pain, was considering a treatment for the back pain, but wanted to make sure that inflammation wasn't driving that back pain. Right? Smart idea to test the gut, because we can tell from the gut what systemic inflammation looks like. So let's go review her labs. As usual, all information has been redacted, which means I hide the patient's information so you can't see who it is, because it's not important anyway. But this was the first page of her GI map test, and you will see under the results, under the detectable limit, DL stands for detectable limit. So none of these pathogens have been causing her issues with bloating, weight gain, and inflammation. Here we look at fungus, yeast, and viruses to see if any of these could be driving those issues for her. And again, everything under detectable limit, from Candida to Epstein-Barr virus and Rhodotorula, all negative here. That's good news. Okay, here we start to see what's gone a little bit awry. First, let's look at the top section, opportunistic and overgrowth microbes, right? We don't want to see any of these at any level, much less them being in the red and high. And I want to remind you how to read these numbers. If you look at the first line of bacillus, 2.73 e to the 6, the reference range is 1.76 e to the 6. So this is high, but it's not a full degree. If it was e to the 7 or e to the 8, we get a little more worried. So this is high. Something is overgrowing the bacillus. And same thing with the strep. The strep is overgrowing too, twice as high as it should normally be. However, I want to remind you that I rarely see a test where all of these are normal. Our microbiome is in a constant state of flux, so you will see these levels rise and fall all the time. We put together some of them for patterns, and then we know deeper what's happening. But for these, I wouldn't be terribly worried. These numbers aren't terribly high. Here you'll notice under inflammatory and autoimmune-related bacteria that the Citrobacter is high and very high, 1.85 e to the 8. 5 e to the 6 is normal. So this is very high, and this is very troubling because rheumatoid arthritis is directly correlated to overgrowth of Citrobacter. Also, I see that very often in people with IBS, right? Lots of inflammation coming from this inflammatory bacteria. So she was right on when she suspected that the inflammation systemically was coming from something in her gut. Citrobacter. Ding. We take a look here on this page at some of her intestinal health markers. You'll notice at the top that there are no parasites or worms, protozoa. I don't often see these come up positive. It's very hard to stool test for parasites. They don't live in your stool, they live in your organs, and they live in your tissues. So unless you're provoking them, we rarely see them on a test. Intestinal health markers here, really important, right? She's worried about chronic inflammation. And what does this tell us? Secretory IgA is very high at the very bottom, right? That's telling us that something is happening. There is an active infection. Her body is trying to fight something, twice the normal limit, high inflammation. Beta-glucuronidase being high is also an issue here. And with this high level, I'm not surprised she has some weight loss resistance. We often see this in elevated cases with colon cancer. It interferes with phase 2 detox and tells me that there is a high level of estrogen circulating in her body. So hormones need to be addressed as well. We look at steatocrit and elastase. Neither are optimal. It's telling me there's a little bit of fat in her stool that's not being processed well. And also her digestive enzymes, pancreatic enzymes, are a little bit weak. And simply increasing those can really help the beginnings of digestion here. And this is my most favorite page of the test, talking about H. pylori, which often goes undiagnosed and is often a root cause of constipation. Here you'll see that it's present, but not high. I think we might be able to go after that just by increasing the stomach acid. She doesn't seem to have any downline effects of this yet. There is no constipation. And so I would consider if we can up, when we think about bloating, which happens in the small intestine, it is probably a result of not being able to break down your foods well enough in the stomach. So by addressing what's above, we can often prevent what's below. So maybe that bloating is because things aren't digesting well. The addition of some pancreatic enzymes, the addition of some things to help her break down that fat, right? Some bile acids, some perhaps hydrochloric acid in her stomach can really help with this. She also needs to replace some good bacteria. So you'll see in the middle, Akkermansia muciniphila is below detectable limits. I see that very often. That's easily replaced with Pendulum's product. They make an Akkermansia muciniphila product. And I also recommend that for people who are working on losing some weight. Bacteroides fragilis is low and Roseburia is low. When I see those, I really think about people's diets. And when I look at the Bacteroides and Firmicutes levels both being very low, that's telling me there's not nearly enough fiber and just good beneficial bacteria in her system overall. So let's talk about what we did real quick. So going back, we definitely added some hydrochloric acid, some digestive enzymes with HCl. We did that really slowly to see if it would aggravate the H. pylori, which it did not. When she did that, she did notice that her bloating went down. Once that happened, she was able to change her diet, right? Without the digestive enzymes to break down all that fiber, the advice to add more fiber is just going to lead to more bloating. I hope that makes sense. So this wasn't super complicated. We were able to add some good probiotics in. We did a couple of herbs just to help rebalance the microbiome, kill off some of those baddies in there. And she did wonderfully. It took 3 to 4 months. She sort of came around. Her metabolism picked back up, lost a little bit of weight. The bloating was gone, and she went on her merry way. So she was working on inflammation. She used the GI map test. It's wonderful. Order it for yourself at digestivediscovery.com. I'm here every Tuesday reading labs. I'm happy to educate you and teach you how to read your own because it's important. Take your health back. All right, I'll see you next week.